In this video, we're talking about perception and individual decision making. Many of you probably saw this dress floating around on the internet about a year ago. Some of you might have thought it was blue and black. Others, myself included, thought it was white and gold. The dress illustrates a really basic principle of perception, which is simply not everyone sees things the same way. There are a number of factors that influence perception and how you view the world around you. That includes your attitudes, motives, experience, and mood, the environment that you find yourself in, as well as characteristics of the object or individual or event that you're perceiving, including its novelty, size, similarity. Have you seen anything like it before? All these factors influence the way you perceive the world around you. In this class, we're especially interested in how you perceive others. Because oftentimes we have limited information to make judgments about other people. So we see some external characteristics, the way they look, the way they dress, and especially the way they behave, and we make judgments about them based on that very limited amount of information. So attribution theory states that we judge others based on how we perceive them, especially on their behavior. So for example, Zach here didn't turn in his homework on time. I might view him as lazy because I attribute that quality of not turning in his homework to some internal fundamental characteristics about his personality. But just as likely, he might have just had a rough week, had a lot of other projects due, and didn't get around to the homework assignment on time. This leads us to the fundamental attribution error. We very often attribute behavior to internal characteristics of a person as opposed to external or situational variables. So we're very likely to say Zach is lazy and not think about all the other reasons why he might have not turned in his homework. Funny enough, though, when we talk about our own successes, we usually attribute them internally to our own wonderful character and hard work, but our failures we attribute to external circumstances. This is called the self-serving bias. So these are different ways that we can make a faulty judgment of others. So how do we overcome these biases that we have in judging others? Well, one way to go about it is to apply a decision-making model. The rational decision-making model relies on the assumption that the decision maker has complete information and can make consistent value-maximizing choices. It's a 6-step process for you to pick the optimal choice in any decision-making scenario. Although it's rational, it's not very realistic to apply it because you rarely have perfect information, and it forces you to consider all possible options. And it's almost impossible in this day and age of billions of choices to think about all possible options. There are a number of constraints and influences on decision-making that also make applying the rational decision-making model impractical. This includes just individual differences, our personalities, our gender, our mental ability influences how we make decisions, as well as organizational constraints. The way you are evaluated or rewarded in a job might influence the decisions you make. For example, if you're a sales manager and you're given a bonus based on signing new customers, you might choose to emphasize signing new customers as opposed to maintaining relationships with existing customers. And that's an example of an organizational constraint influencing decision making. So alternatively, there are a couple decision-making models that are a little less strenuous than the rational decision-making model. Bounded rationality is one that we often apply. So it's very similar to the rational decision-making model, only it's bounded, meaning you have a limited set of options to choose from. So you might limit yourself to just looking, if you're looking for a used car, for example, to just looking at used cars that are within 50 miles of you, as opposed to trying to consider every single possible option. Finally, the most common way we make decisions is through our own intuition, which is essentially a shortcut of judgment that we make based on our own experience. This works well for really simple decisions, but is not a great way to make the big, hairy, difficult decisions that you may be called upon to make in your job. So make sure to supplement intuition with bounded rationality when necessary. We did not go through all the decision-making biases in this video. Please make sure you're familiar with them. There are quite a few listed in your chapter, but let's quickly review how you might be able to overcome bias in your own decision-making. First, focus on your goals. Having a clear goal in mind helps you to come up with a rational assessment criteria. Second, look for information that disconfirms your beliefs. Third, don't try to create meaning out of random events. And finally, increase your options. In the used car example that I provided, if you're not finding an ideal option by searching just within 50 miles of your home, perhaps increase your options by, say, looking for a used car within 100 or 200 miles of your home.